Recording. All right. Welcome, everybody. It is, what is today? March 8th of 2022. So we were marching right through into the season, it looks like. Glad to see everybody here tonight. We have with us Jacob Flowers, and Jacob is going to share some things with us shortly. I'm going to introduce him a little more appropriately in just a minute. I'm going to start the evening off with our pledge. If y'all will follow along, say it to yourself, say it out loud, however you'd like to do that, and just follow with me. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bill's going to help us out with our invocation tonight. If we bow our heads, please.
All right, Father, I confess to you that I need all the help that I can get from you, and that we need all the help that you are able to give us, because we depend absolutely on you. I pray tonight, Father, that you will bless Jacob so that he will be able to speak in such a way that the chord that you would have struck in our hearts and minds would be touched. So I pray that you will bless him and give us open ears and an open heart to hear whatever it is that you might want to say, and then use us for your glory and the benefit of others. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Amen. Thank you for that, Bill.
We are still looking for a number of roles within the club, someone to help with some of our marketing. Karen, you'll be getting an email. And anybody else who'd like to step up into some of the leadership secretary role is still open. Somebody who is potentially good at taking some notes, managing our processes, and doing some of that would be appreciated. And just let me know if you're interested. Happy to talk through. I'm getting ready to send out some information on club visioning. And this is interesting for those of you who aren't Rotarians or haven't been for a long time. Visioning is an interesting process where a club goes through the process of deciding what they want to do over the next 3 years. What do they want to look like? How do they want to handle club affairs, and what their goals are? And frequently what you find is that people don't think about these things in that context. So we're inviting some clubs who want to do it. And it's one of those things that while we are maybe not quite at the point that we would do full visioning, something to think about, and something I think maybe we ought to take a day in one of our meetings and just talk about where we want to be, how we want to get there, and what we want to achieve as we go through the next year, 2 years, 3 years for this club. As a baby club, I think it's important that we set some guidelines for what we want to do. And the visioning process would work well for us, even if we do it, I think, on a kind of a light basis. If you ever have an opportunity to sit in on one, let me know. And if you're interested in possibly being on the visioning team where you would help with that, then again, let me know. I would love to talk to you about that as we reassemble our team post-COVID and reach out to clubs to help them all over our district. So lots of opportunity there, looking for some eager minds and great attitudes who want to help our clubs decide what they want to do and be here in the future. So my access via email, phone, text, y'all know how to reach me, and feel free at any time. I'm going to introduce Jacob now and let us get going on that with him tonight. Jacob Flowers is an author, a speaker, and a coach. He founded his training and consulting business in January of 2019. He had a passion to help business develop strong leaders at all levels of their organizations by delivering world-class workshops, one-to-one coaching, trainings, and assessments. He helps businesses build and maintain cohesive teams that consistently deliver results that exceed expectations of their customers. He's partnered with John Maxwell Team, the world's leading authority on leadership success, as an executive director. He performs business breakthroughs as a sales and marketing strategist and helps any business find a minimum of $50,000 in revenue and profits without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. And let me assure you, that is something that I think almost any business would find value in. His book, Play Full Out, has helped hundreds of small businesses capitalize on proven strategies that accelerate revenue generation. He works as a volunteer with the Small Business Administration, providing mentoring to business owners who are seeking to grow their teams and profits. And we're fortunate tonight to have him here speaking to us. and informing us on things that we can do as a club and just in general in our lives. And if we have small businesses, many of you do, I would say, listen up. You may have a great message for us. So Jacob, I'm going to turn it over to you. Do you have things that you would like to share?
Yeah, I have a presentation that that I
Awesome.
can share. Let's see, that'll probably help you stay on point a little bit. Let's see here. Let me put this in presentation mode. All right, let's see. Eventually I'll be able to find the button to put it in presentation mode.
It is the screen right there, just to the right.
I think there it is.
There you
How
go.
about that? Can you see that good?
Absolutely. It's perfect.
Everybody. Well, Carla, thank you so much for reading that introduction. I appreciate it. It reminds me of something that I learned from my mentor. He said, if you're good, you don't need an introduction. And he said, if you're bad, a good introduction won't help you. So I'm reminded of that tonight. And so the first thing I want to share, I'm delighted to be here with you tonight. And so I've got this laminated card, and whenever I laminate something, that means it's good. So and everything that you need to learn about life, or that you need to know about life, I should say, is right here on this card. And so I'm going to read this to you to get us started. So God created the dog, the monkey, and the cow when he created the world. Now, this is a story of life told through the eyes of the dog, the monkey, and the cow, and their conversations that they had with God during their creation. On the first day, God created the dog and said, "Sit all day by the door of your house and bark at anyone who comes in or walks past. For this, I will give you a lifespan of 20 years. The dog said, "Now, that's a long time to be barking. How about only 10 years and I'll give you back the other 10. So God agreed with the dog. On the second day, God created the monkey and said, "Entertain people, do tricks and make them laugh. And for this, I will give you a 20-year lifespan." The monkey said, "Monkey tricks for 20 years? That's a pretty long time to perform. How about I give you back 10 like the dog did?" And God agreed with the monkey. On the third day, God created the cow and said, "You must go into the field with a farmer all day long and suffer under the sun, have calves, and give milk to support the farmer's family. For this, I will give you a lifespan of 60 years. The cow said, "That's kind of a tough life. You want me to live for 60 years? How about 20, and I'll give you back the other 40. And God agreed. On the fourth day, God created man and said, "Eat, sleep, play, marry, and enjoy your life. For this, I'll give you 20 years. But man said, "Only 20 years? Could you possibly give me my 20, the 40 the cow gave back, the 10 the monkey gave back, and the 10 the dog gave back? And that makes 80, okay?" And God said, "You asked for it. So that is why the first 20 years we eat, sleep, play, and enjoy ourselves. For the next 40 years, we labor in the sun to support our families. For the next 10 years, we do monkey tricks to entertain the grandchildren. And for the last 10 years, we sit on the front porch and bark at everyone." And that is life explained through God's creation. Isn't that fun? And so Carla's going to be sending out, I've got her connection card. I've got a lot of free offers that I'll just mention a couple of things real quick. One thing that I'm offering for everybody that's attending tonight, either if you're watching the recording or if you're online tonight, I've got this leadership game. And I think everybody can see that. This is a assessment tool. For those people that don't like reading a book, don't want to pick up a book at the bookstore, which I know can be laborious, and you got to pay $20 and all that kind of stuff to learn about leadership principles. But this game right here is an assessment tool that really helps businesses identify, maybe some of the laws of leadership that maybe they need to develop, inside of their organization. So anybody that's interested in that, I'm going to offer that as a freebie. Carla mentioned that I'm doing business breakthrough assessments. I'm offering for anybody that wants one of those. If you know of a business owner, especially with the pandemic, that's struggling through that right now, I'm offering to do those for free, and I'll just give them the strategies, and they can go take and apply them, in their business. So, and there's some other things that are on the offer sheet. I'll let Carla send those out, and you can email them back to me if you have questions or anything like that. And so there's two promises that I made to Carla and Bill and Bob whenever they asked me to come in here and speak tonight. And the first promise that I made them is you're absolutely going to have something that you can take and apply to your life right away. You're absolutely going to get that. I have the great privilege of sharing with you one of the greatest skill sets that's helped me develop as an individual, a leader, and as a husband. And, so you're absolutely going to get something tonight that you can take and apply to your life right away. That's going to make a positive difference. And the second promise that I made them, which we've already covered, is I'm going to give you an opportunity, if you like what you hear tonight, to continue on further and with a free offer. So, those are going to be available to you. And so now a lot of the things, just kind of a precursor for tonight, a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about is going to be real tempting to say, oh, I've heard that before, right? And just kind of dismiss it. But the question that I'm going to ask you to ask yourself tonight, whenever you hear something that maybe you've heard before and you say, this is old stuff, this is stuff that, I heard, 10 years ago, and it's just kind of a canned speech. My question for you that I want to kind of challenge you to ask yourself is how well do I do that? That's the question I want you to kind of filter some of what we're going to talk about. And I'll tell you why. And the principle is, the biggest gap that we have in our life is between what we know and what we actually do with what we know. So the greatest gap is between what we know and what we actually apply with what we know, right? And so that's the reason why we want to try to filter that through that question. And so as Carla mentioned earlier, I am affiliated with the John Maxwell team. You see that here on the slide. This is some information that comes from Becoming a Person of Influence, John C. Maxwell. And so John C. Maxwell and the John Maxwell team, we define leadership as influence, nothing more, nothing less. And so now that's not contrary, or that's contrary to popular belief. That's not what tradition would tell you. And in fact, if you go to the dictionary right now, if you go to Webster's dictionary, they're not going to define leadership like this. They define leadership as an office or a title or a position held, is what they define it as. But see, that's not the way that we define it with the John Maxwell team. And so I'm going to show you a picture. So this here is a picture of John Maxwell and I. This was taken last October at a training I was doing with John. We go to Orlando twice a year, actually, to be trained personally by John. And so not sure if everybody knows who John Maxwell is, but he's written well over 100 books. He's got more than 40 years of experience. He won the Horatio Alger Award. He's a recipient of that, which is very prestigious and hard to get. He's number 6 all-time bestseller on Amazon, which number 1's the Bible. So we like to say John's 5 from God as far as authors are concerned. So that's pretty good. And so here's what I want to do. I want you, and we're on Zoom tonight. So, as far as raising your hand is concerned, just, if you want to put a thumbs up, or if you want to give you I think there's a little hand that you can do, you can raise your hand. But so here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of the person that's helped you maybe have the greatest influence on your life, or helps you to go farther, or helps you to go faster than you thought you could. And whenever you have that person in your mind, I want you to just, you can kind of put your thumbs up or give me the little yellow hand on the Zoom, and we'll go from there. Because everybody, the question was, did you think about the person that's had the greatest influence on your life? And so if once you have that person in your mind, if that person was a mother for you, you could give me the thumbs up. Or if that person was a father for you, if that person was a brother or a sister, or maybe it was a friend or a teacher that you had in school. And so then the second thing that I want to ask you, if it wasn't one of those people, was it somebody who actually that you work for, that held a title that you work for, that had the greatest influence on your life? Does anybody say that? It was somebody that they work for specifically?
It was my father.
Yeah, your father. And so here's the thing. in every single group that I speak to, in every single room that I speak to, it's very rare that a lot of hands go up for that last one that we talked about. It's usually not somebody that held an office or position that you work for specifically that had the greatest influence on you. You see, it's the mother at home. It's the neighbor next door. It's a member of our church small group. It's a member of our civic organization. It's a friend from college that usually had the greatest influence on our life. And so what I want to remove from your mind in a very short period of time is that influence comes from a title, and that leadership comes from a title, because it's just not true. And, so it's very important to understand that you are a leader, and everybody has that opportunity. And so here's the next exercise I want to do. And if you got a piece of paper, you can write these down if you just want to think about them. So just kind of an exercise here. Let's say the scenario is, you'll say you've got this big project that's coming. Let's say you've got this, big initiative, and you got to knock it out of the park. You got to hit a home run. And let's say you're bringing these people onto your team. My question to you is, what are the top characteristics that you're looking for? Let's say maybe the top 3 characteristics you're looking for on someone that's going to be on your team. And I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that, to think about those. And if anybody wants to share in the chat, feel free to jot one of yours down there in the chat, and we'll talk about that. And so what you're doing is you're thinking about, the characteristics that you want somebody to possess, that you're bringing onto your team. And answers in a group like this are going to vary. And so I think Carla's got attitude. Absolutely. Attitude. That is a big one, right? Drive. That's absolutely. Desire, honesty, character. Absolutely. Motivated. Bruce, I see that. Bill Smith said task-oriented, able to work well with others. Absolutely. All of those things. Getting along with people, Bob says, you got to have it. It's key. You got to have people that know how to get along with somebody. And so here's the question. Here's the question. This is just one simple question for you. Do you possess those characteristics? The things that you listed? And so here's the principle. Don't miss this. This is good. If you're taking notes, this would be good something to write down, because this is a good one. You attract who you are, not what you want as a person, or not what you want in a person. You attract who you are as a person, not what you want in another person. And so, for instance, if you wrote down, like we've got several listed here, just as an example, if you wrote down that you want somebody that leads with a servant's heart, my question to you would be, are you somebody who values people, right? Do you put people first? Do you put others' needs ahead of your needs, right? If you wrote down that you want a go-getter type, right? My question to you would be, are you somebody who takes massive action? Do you get things done, right? Do you execute? And that's the way that the principle works. We're going to attract who we are, not what we want in another person. And so it's very important to think about whenever you're bringing people onto your team. And so I mentioned earlier, kind of touching back on this idea of, that leadership does not come from an office or a title. And so let me move the slide along here. Forgot about the slides. Let's see. Character exercise, influence not about it. So first job out of college, I learned this about the leadership not coming from an office or a title early on in my career. And so my first job out of college, I've got all the so-called credentials, right? I got the leadership certification. I got the engineering degree. I got all this stuff, and my boss says, you're going to be put over this major project over here. It's going to be worth millions of dollars to the company. And I want you to go, and I want you to lead this effort. And I called my first staff meeting, and I brought this group together, probably 10 or 12 of us, and we're just going around the horn brainstorming. And it become apparent to me really quickly who the real leader in our group was. And so when this lady that was in the group she would begin to talk, people would just lean in a little bit closer to hear what it was that she had to say. And whenever she would make a suggestion, or she would put her opinion out there, or an idea, people would nod their head very often to say, you know what, I think we ought to try I think we ought to try Sheila's idea. That's a good idea. And whenever, you have to understand, whenever I was talking, people were like, yeah, but, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's going to work. You're greenhorn. You don't know what you're doing. And they were probably right in a way, right? I mean, Sheila had built up all this bandwidth of influence, over the years of making good decisions and helping people with different projects and things like that people trusted her. She had built that rapport with people. And so it become apparent to me rather quickly, if I was going to have any influence on this group and this project that we were going to be working on, I was going to have to learn how to influence Sheila. And then Sheila was going to have to, Sheila would influence the group in turn, right? And so that's the way this works. If you're not the person with the influence, you have to learn how to influence the person who does have it, and then let them influence the other people until you can gain that influence. And that's what I had to do to move that first project along, and so just something to keep in mind, as you're working through the things that you're working in your career, or your civic groups and things like that. You have to find the people that have that influence, and then you have to learn how to tap into that. And so, a small window of time, and I won't say much about this, but when you get a leadership position, you have a very small window of time to prove your leadership. I hear people, it's one of the biggest mistakes I hear with leaders, whenever I get to the top, then I'll be able to lead them. Whenever I get the top position, then people are going to listen to me. But see, that's where we mess up. Because when you get the leadership position, you have a very small window of time to prove to people that you can win, that you're a winner, and that you can lead people in the right way, and that you value people and all those things. And I looked up a few examples. I know we've probably got some college football fans here, and it's kind of an example that most people can relate to, here in the South. I looked up a few coaching stints. Urban Meyer here recently, 13 games, fired after 13 games, didn't even finish a full season. Mike Haywood, Pittsburgh, 16 days, gone, out. So you got this very short window that, I mean, these people, they're not getting very long to be able to showcase their influence. And you've got, you're influencing somebody all the time, right? Well, then the question that we have to ask ourselves is, are we using our influence for the positive, or are we using it in a negative way? And so what I want to encourage you to do tonight is I want to encourage you to use that influence on purpose and to use it intentionally for the good. And I think we all have an opportunity to do that. And that's what, part of my goal here is tonight. And so if I want to transition now, and I've got Tom probably to talk about one of these methods of influence. And so there's actually 7 levels of influence. And some of them are good, and some of them, let's just say you don't want to stoop that low. You don't want to use some of these, right? And so, and I think probably the most common one that I see inside of groups, inside of organizations, inside of businesses, especially corporations, I see it as it's the my way or the highway philosophy. It's the intimidation factor, right? And we kind of see that a little bit with, not to get political tonight, but we see that a little bit with this Ukraine-Russia deal, right? That's kind of on everybody's mind. We kind of see this intimidation type deal, and so the my way or the highway philosophy worked many years ago. I would say it didn't work very effectively. It works even less effectively now. And we're dealing with a culture now that's not going to put up with that. They're not going to tolerate that for very, very long. And at the end of the day, it doesn't get you the results that you want, right? It doesn't take you where you want to be, which is, that's the name of the game, right? Results. And so when I was writing out this message, I said, what are the things, I thought to myself, what are the things that the my way or the highway philosophy does? And I really come up with 2 things. And I want you, if you're taking notes, these would be something good to write down what this does. The first thing that it does is it increases your useless activity. The second thing that it does is it decreases creativity. So number 1, it increases useless activity. And number 2, it decreases creativity. And so what does it look like? Let me give you a description of what that would look like. So I come to you, I've got these ideas, I got this opinion, I got this, whatever it is that's going to make a positive difference. I'm really enthusiastic. I'm gung ho. Hey, I think this is really going to help our organization. I think it's going to help our club. I think it's going to help our team move forward. And then the leader says, you know what? Nope. We don't do it that way. We've always done it this way. And so now I go back, I may come up with another idea. I may come up with another opinion. I may come up with some more thoughts, and I come back to the leader and they say, nope, it's my way or the highway. And see, when the leader says that to me in so many words, what options do I have? What can I do as an employee or as a member of a group, or what do I have to do? I got to start finding ways to look busy. I got to start. Everybody knows what I'm talking about with this. I got to start increasing my useless activity. And so we've all said, how many people, show of hands, give me a thumb up. How many people know somebody that works harder looking busy on the job than they are actually doing the job? Right. We got some of that going on, right? And they got their clipboard out, and they're going through all their sheets, or they got their cell phone, and they're scrolling through Facebook, or they're scrolling through their emails, and they're really doing nothing, right? It's hard work looking busy on the job, right? And so I think I've got time to tell this story. Carla, keep me on task with the time that we've got available to us. But we're doing good.
Mhm.
So I was in this marketing group. I'm working for a large public utility, and when I was in engineering, working for a large public utility in Florida. And they have this program where you would go around to all the different departments, and they wanted you to be well-rounded. So you're going to go and kind of find out what all the different departments are doing. So I'm sitting with a marketing group for this particular morning. And the guy that's mentoring that morning, Dave, starts walking me through all of his morning tasks. Well, so, okay, we kind of got to the end of those tasks, and then, his natural break, we went and got some coffee. We come back, it's around 10 o'clock. And I finally asked, I said, Dave, what's next? I'll never forget this. Dave said, to be honest with you, I kind of just kill some time till lunch. It's, I usually I'll take my headset and just kind of look like I'm talking to customers, and here the next thing I know, there's 3 or 4 more employees from that same department that are coming over. And these folks just start sharing tips. It was one of those cubicle deals where you can kind of eavesdrop on people's conversations and everybody kind of hears what you're talking about. So they come over, and these folks start sharing some of their tips that they use, for looking busy, and one of them goes, well, I'll tell you what I do. I just take all my office supplies, and I just start moving all my stuff around my desk, and I take all my folders and moving from over here to there. And he said, that usually gets me till lunch, and then one of the employees goes, well, I just act like my, computer froze up, my software, and then I got to power my computer down and power it back up. And then one of them go, well, now you got to call IT, right? Because you got to figure out what the problem was with the software. And y'all can see where we're going with this, right? We're manufacturing problems to be able to look busy on the job, And so, and I thought to myself, what is this saying about this particular department? I mean, we see this many people that are disengaged, right, from their job, and they're disengaged from what's going on. That's got to speak to the fact that these people are disengaged because of the my way or the highway philosophy. They probably have gotten burnt out on trying to bring things and trying to make a difference and try to do it, because you don't start off like that, right? Not that many employees starting off like that to where they just want to try to, I don't really want to put in the effort. I'm just going to go do, bare minimum to be able to keep my job and get everything done. And so that's what it does. This my way or the highway philosophy. At the end of the day, it leads to disengagement, right? And so just, as a leader, we've got to keep those things in mind, because how we lead is going to determine how long and how far our leadership takes us, right? And do we value people? Are we listening to people? Whenever somebody comes with that idea, we got to make sure that, hey, and it may not be something that we apply, but we got to make sure that they're heard and that they're valued. And so that's what I would say with that piece. And so now I'm going to transition into servant leadership. And so I did a little research. Bob knows I've had some experience speaking to some of the Rotary clubs. So I did a little research on the group. And so I know that servant leadership is a big deal, right? We're all about the community and doing, doing good things for the local folks. And so this is not always easy. And so remember what I said about laminated cards. When I laminate something, it's good. And so I'm going to share this, this little story about how difficult it can be sometimes whenever we're trying to be a servant leader. And so this is a story of the salesman and the barber. So I love this story of the salesman and the barber who was getting a haircut and mentioned that he was about to take a trip to Rome, Italy. "Oh, Rome is a terrible, overrated city," commented his barber, who was born in northern Italy. "What airline are you taking?" The salesman told him the name of the airline, and the barber responded, "Oh, what a terrible airline. Their seats are cramped, their food is bad, and their planes are always late." "What hotel are you staying at?" The salesman named the hotel, and the barber explained, "Why would you stay there? That hotel is in the wrong part of town, and it has horrible service. You're better off staying at home." "But I expect to close a big deal while I'm there," the salesman replied, "and afterward I hope to see the Pope." "Oh, you'll be disappointed trying to do business in Italy," said the barber, "and don't count on seeing the Pope. He only grants audiences to very important people." 3 weeks later, the salesman returned to the barber shop. "And how was your trip?" asked the barber. "Wonderful," replied the salesman. "The flight was perfect, the service at the hotel was excellent, and I made a big sale." And the salesman paused for effect. "And I got to meet the Pope." "You got to meet the Pope?" Finally, the barber was impressed. "Tell me what happened." "Well, when I approached him, I bent down and kissed his ring." "No kidding. And what did he say?" "He looked down at my head and said, 'My son, where did you get such a lousy haircut?'" Yeah. So, I mean, we're dealing with this, right? I mean, we got criticisms coming left and right, and everybody's got an opinion, and how are we going to respond to those things, right? And how do we approach it? And if you ask me, just quickly, servant leaders, what is it, right? And I think it really is having the right attitude towards people. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And the principle with all this stuff with attitude is what happens on the inside is always going to show up on the outside. That's just the way it is. If you're hurting on the inside, it's probably going to result in hurting people on the outside. If you're in a good positive disposition on the inside, you're probably going to have a positive disposition on the outside, right? That's just the way it works. And so I think one of the ways that we do this, see what the next slide is. I think I've got some quotes here that are going to help us, to see some of this. So one of the ways that we can do this is how do we, the question would be, as a leader, when, are we making sure that the people understand that their contribution is valued? Are we making sure that they understand that we value them as a person and what they bring to the team? And so my friend and mentor, John Maxwell, would say that this way, I could have sat up all night and not thought of a better way to say it. He said, "People appreciate working for someone who appreciates them." That's just real simple, but it's so true. And remember what we talked about, that, a lot of these things we've heard before, but how do we say thank you? It's something that everybody either listening, in the recording, or everybody here live on the Zoom, it's something we all can do, to make people feel like they're appreciated and that they're valued, right? And then here's a couple of quotes, just for some really successful people. I think I've got two here, that talk about the importance of getting along with people. So this one here is by Teddy Roosevelt. "The most important single ingredient to the formula for success is knowing how to get along with people." Teddy was pretty successful, right? Become the president. So he knows how that stuff works. And then I've also got one here by John D. Rockefeller, the old man. "I will pay more for the ability to deal with people than any other ability under the sun." And John D. Rockefeller had a bunch of money. So I think he was the richest man in the world for a time. So, but you can see how much he valued somebody that was able to relate and to build rapport and to be able to build relationships and work well with people. And that's what we want to do. We want to do that as leaders. And, that's part of it. Right. And so I think as servant leaders, we just want to make sure that we're leading from the front. We as leaders, we have to be the one to go first. And we know that the law of reciprocation, that will in turn come back to us, but we got to go first. And so just a reminder for that. Let's see. All right, let's go to, and so here's how John Maxwell would say that. here on the slides. When you meet somebody for the first time, or when you meet somebody in a business interaction or in a service club or wherever you're, civic club, wherever you're at, people are asking 3 questions. They ask themselves 3 questions when they meet you. Number 1, do you care about me? Number 2, can you help me? Number 3, can I trust you? And so understand that those three questions are going, they may not say them like that, or they may not tell you that, but those are really the 3 questions that they're asking themselves. Do you care about me? Can you help me? And can I trust you? And so, and there's the quote from John: people appreciate working for someone who appreciates them. And so remember when we first started, I mentioned to everybody that I was going to give you something that you could absolutely take and apply to your life right away, and it's going to make a positive difference. And here it is. This is just, this is something so simple, but if it's simple to do it, it's also simple not to do it, right? So let's back to, that applying thing, right? And so it's what I call the reflection starter kit. And it really consists of what, you see a lot of pastors do this. A lot of pastors review and reflect. They take time away from all the people and everything, and they just kind of sit quietly and they review and they reflect about their day. They review and they reflect about the past week. They review and reflect the month. Some people do it. I know John Maxwell's told me, he said he takes the whole last week of December and just reflects on the whole year. And he takes this calendar and he just says, were these calendar items right here, do we make a difference here? Do we add value here? And if we didn't, maybe it's something I don't need to do next year, because I want to have the greatest impact that we're going to make, and I want to make a difference in people's lives. And so that's how deep some of the reflection can go. But this here is very, very simple, very straightforward. And so basically it boils down to asking yourself 3 questions, and I promise you, if you'll take these 3 questions at the end of each day, if you actually write out these answers to these 3 questions, I promise you, and I don't make many promises, but I promise you, you're going to be more productive over the next 7 days and to infinity and beyond if you just continue to do these things. And so here's the 3 questions. What went right? What went wrong? What can I do differently? I'll say them again. These are good to write down. What went right? What went wrong? What can I do differently? And see, these things is very powerful, because the reason why we keep going around the same mountain again and again and again, we keep circling around the same problem, is because we're not taking the time to review and reflect. And so that's the reason why we have the same problems in our businesses. We got the same problems at the house. We got the same problems in our clubs. We got the same problems on our teams. Wherever we're at, if we're not taking the time to review and reflect, we're going to continue to have the same problems, right? Because we got to look at it, assess it, and try to make those changes. And these questions filter that for us and help us to be able to pull out the gold and be able to do things a little differently. So reflect: what went right, what went wrong, and what can I do differently? And those things, the thing I love about them is that everybody on this call can do them. Everybody on this Zoom meeting can do this, And so that's all I've got. If we got Q&A session, Tom, I'm finished with my presentation. So if anybody's got any Q&A questions, and I've got some, let's see, I've got and this all should be on that connection card that I sent over to you, that connection sheet, Carla. But if anybody'd like to drop my email, phone down, there's some websites there as well. That's the easy way to get in touch with me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Those 3, Carla, you mentioned visioning earlier. Those last 3 questions that Jacob asked is real critical to the visioning process. What went right, what went wrong, what can we do differently? And those are, if you've been through a visioning process, I've been through about 2 or 3 clubs, it really leads you through that step by step, and it makes you reevaluate that on just about everything you do.
Yeah, I think it's a sound advice. Absolutely. Looking at it, evaluating and reflecting and understanding what it was, because we do get in the trap of not understanding why we are where we are, or why we're doing the things we're doing, and then not adding value in the time that we're spending. And time is precious these days for all of us. So I think, Jacob, you are spot on, and John Maxwell is spot on, and Bob, I need to recruit you for the visioning team. So,
Well, the other thing too, you made me reflect this, Jacob, is that one of the things that I sense we don't do enough in Rotary is tell people how good they are and how much you appreciate them being in the club. And if you did that more and more people, we wouldn't have any trouble recruiting anyone, and we wouldn't have any trouble with people staying. Because people don't hear enough these days, you know, how good they are and how much you really appreciate them. And that takes, it goes a long way. I mean, it's, you know, you say it and we forget it, but we don't do it. And that's just a couple of things that I picked up, you know, carried with me.
Yep. John Maxwell is probably my most favorite author. You know, he tells us that an organization rises and falls on leadership, and Rotary is no different. Those clubs that have a semblance of leadership excel, and those that don't, just pure and simple. So leadership is just a little bit important. And a question for you, Jacob: what famous author has his own Bible?
Oh, famous author. I think I know John Maxwell's got a Maxwell Leadership
That's
Bible.
That's it.
Yeah, I actually got one of those. My pastor, when we got married, they're actually in Alabama. You know, Church of the Hollands is where my wife and I, the pastor, the campus pastor at Church of the Hollands, is the one who married us. And he's affiliated, the Church of the Highlands is affiliated with John. And so I thought it'd be a good gift for him, you know, John Maxwell Bible. It's kind of a funny story there. But, you know, David Jeremiah has also, you know, written several, but he's got a leadership study Bible as well. And I want to say, does MacArthur have one too? Or MacArthur? Or I think I've seen a MacArthur study Bible, but David Jeremiah is fantastic as well. But I think, you know, some of the comment right on. I mean, everything, when you say everything rises and falls on leadership, I mean, you know, people don't, I talk about this often when I speak with people. People don't leave a business. They don't leave a corporation. They leave a boss. That's who people leave. They don't leave a church. People leave a pastor, right? They leave people, you know? And so it's mostly, it goes back to the way that, you know, the way that we either value people and we treat people, or the way that we don't, you know, and, you know, and it's, as Bob said, it's easy sometimes to forget those things. And so, or it's easy to think that, oh, I think I do this, but, you know, how well am I really applying that? And, you know, and it can really make or break, you know, our efforts, you know, what we're going to try to accomplish and the influence that we're trying to gain, you know, and so it's just something to, you know, that thing about letting people know that you appreciate them is just so important. And, you know, and you want to do that as much as you can. Overdo it, you know, sometimes. Okay, you know, stop with the appreciation, but I'd rather be doing that than thinking, I don't even know if they know I'm here, you know.
yeah, they only remember the negative. So if you don't reaffirm the positive on a regular basis, then you've missed that opportunity. It's the timing is coincidental for your presentation, because I'm doing management training tomorrow for a bunch of our newer managers, some of our older managers, and the thing that I start off with most of the time is that you lead people and you manage work, and trying to get them to understand the difference that being a leader and representing yourself. And I thought it was neat. I don't know how many of the rest of y'all, when we listed those things for what you want to see out of somebody, and then, you know, Jacob says, well, you're going to get who you are. And I'm looking at all these things and I'm like, yep, yeah, I hire those people who are have great attitude, drive, and desire. My department's full of it. And I can see Bruce having all these people surrounding him with honesty, character, and who are motivated, and because that's exactly how he is. And Bob, who gets along with everybody. And I just thought that was kind of neat when you brought that back around and said, you know, it's who you are that you're bringing around you, and that's who you recruit to you. I've never thought about it in those terms, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's something we all have to work. The hardest person we're ever going to lead is ourselves. Self-leadership is as hard as it gets. And the reason for that, right, is because I judge myself based off my intentions. I said, well, I intended to do that, you know, but yet I judge other people based off their actions, you know. So, and so, you know, if somebody forgets to get you a birthday present and everything, you know, I meant to go by the store and get the birthday present and everything. I'm looking at it, well, did you or didn't you? You know, I mean, that's just the way we kind of, you know, we filter things is, you know, intentions versus what we actions, you know, and I know I intended to do good things, but, you know, but other people are looking at that and they're saying, you know, well, did you actually do it? You know, they want the result. And that's challenging. It's one of the most challenging things that we deal with as a leader is trying to lead ourselves well.
Yeah, don't forget, we are always
You know?
focused on ourselves.
And absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Hey, Jacob,
That's,
you've heard of the 80-20 rule?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So-
Pareto principle.
Yeah. So as a leader, how do you deal with 80%?
Yeah. You're talking about as far as what's going to bring me the results and
Motivation, results, engagement. Yeah.
So I was sharing, I think Carla mentioned in my intro, I do SBA, you know, I do small business mentoring as a volunteer. And I was speaking with a lady the other day. I'll give you an example. So I was speaking with a lady the other day and she's got all these different things. She's working in the real estate business and she's got all these different things that she's doing, you know, and she's working a little bit in marketing and she's working a little bit in real estate and she's working a little bit with training somebody. And I just said, just, you know, stop for a second. Just stop, take a pill. It's going to be okay. Stop. And let's talk about the law of priorities. And I said, look, let's talk about, you know, the 80% of what we're doing is only going to bring us 20% of the results because she was overwhelmed. You know, she had so much stuff going on. And I said, look, you got to understand that Pareto principle, that 80-20 rule. And I said, if you can take and find what the 20% of the things that you're going to do that are going to bring you the 80% of the results, because the opposite of that's true, right? If the 20% is going to, you know, if the 80% brings us 20, then the 20 is going to bring us the 80. I said, you got to identify each day. What are the, and I told her, listen to what I'm saying, but don't watch me too closely, right? Because this is hard to apply. What are the two things that you need to do today? Or maybe it's the one thing that's going to bring the return, right? And we all have to, and it changes each day. You know, we all have priorities that shift. We got things that, you know, hey, does this need to be done right now? How important is it? And so it's always good to be asking yourself, is this the most valuable use of my time? I mean, like everybody tonight decided that this was the most valuable use of our time, right? We're trading this priority right here for something else. And so, and this is the second part of what I shared with her, and not to preach and not get on a soapbox, but this is good. So I told her, I said, look, this is also true, the 80-20-20-80 rule with the people that you're going to develop. Like Carla, like you said, you're going to be doing training tomorrow, right? So the people that you're going to be training, you want to look at that the same way. Who are the 20% of these people that I need to be focusing on training? You know, who are the 20% that are going to give me 80% of the return? Because that's also true when you develop people. And I'm not saying that those other 80% don't need to be developed. They absolutely do. In fact, that, you know, they really do. And the problem we make as leaders is sometimes we think we're about the 80%. We forget about the 20% that are good. But if I focus on the 80 or the 20%, and then I let the 20% go coach the 80%, train the 80%. Does that make sense? Is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that
Yes.
connecting?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the Bruce, I think it was Bruce that asked the question about the Pareto principle at 80-20. Does that answer what you were?
It
Going to-
does. We do a lot in Rotary. We train the trainer. So you're saying take that 20% that are just out of this world and get them to train and work with that 80% because you can't do it all.
Absolutely. You have to, what is it that Bruce can, only Bruce can do this? What is it that only I can do? Right? Because I've only got so much energy. And a lot of people are morning people, or maybe they're night people or whatever. Like I'm more a night person. My wife is a morning person. She get up at 6 and just hit the ground running, and I'm, at 8, I'm still, kind of trying to get my wiring and all that stuff correct. But, but what is it? We only got so much energy in the day. And what is the 20%? Maybe I need to put that on if I'm a morning person, I need to put that on the front of my docket. And then I need to only worry about what Bruce can do. What is absolutely only Bruce can do this. And if somebody else can do it at, let's just say 80% of the same capacity that I can, I'm delegating it. Hey, somebody else can do that up to 80% of what I can do it. It's not worth my time to do it. You know, it's somebody else being able to do that, you know, at that kind of, you know, that kind. Now, if you got somebody that you're still training and you're trying to get up to 80% capacity, I would think it'd probably still be good to get them up to where they're delivering good results, right? They're delivering quality stuff. But, you know, I think as soon as you can, you got to delegate it.
Well, my early experiences, my 3 sons taught me early on, Jacob, that it's easier just to do it myself. One of my faults is delegating when I need to, and so that early training has been my downfall sometimes. So.
You are not alone, my friend. That is something that this is something I talk. That's one of the, we talk about challenges for leaders. That's one of the biggest ones is, you know, and I've been there. I've been there where nobody can do this job better than I can. So I gotta kind of hold this one back, you know, because nobody's going to be able to do this better. And one of the questions, this may help you, Bruce, one of the questions I've asked myself, because I get so busy, you know, building a business and marketing and sales and all these different things. And, you know, and training, right? I got to deliver the training too, you know, the thing that I think about is what, you know, what can only I do? You know, what are the things that I can do? And then I have to delegate, you know, virtual assistants and things like that, or, you know, what are the little things that I can push, you know, I can put on somebody else's plate to have them, you know, to have them do that and then bring that back to me. And so, you know, I think it's just critical, you know, for delegation and, you know, but I've fallen into that trap. I've fallen into that trap all the time of this is, you know, engineers, right? I have an engineering background. So engineers have to know every specific detail, every nut and every bolt, right? Is where they train you. And so I had to beat that out of myself. So you don't need to know all the details, you know, just know enough to be effective. You know so.
Some of the most successful organizations in this world will hire somebody that doesn't have a clue how to work on a car, but they know how to manage people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie said that he was the first person to pay somebody like $1 million. He paid Charles Schwab in the book Think and Grow Rich. He paid Charles Schwab $1 million a year to do what he did. And this is back in the 30s, right? And they asked him, Andrew, they said, what, you know, why are you paying, you got all these employees and everything, you're kind of paying everybody well, but, you know, you're paying this guy over here, you know, $1 million or whatever it is, you know, and he said, you know what? He said, the way that Charles Schwab is able to relate to people and work with people, he said, I'm not paying him enough. I don't pay him enough for what he does to be able to, his ability to deal with people, you know, and it's critical. You got to have, you know, you either got to have it or you got to have somebody on your team that can, you know, make those connections and help you build, you know, and it's just critical.
Well, I appreciate the information. I have notes that will help me through my training tomorrow. I have new things to think about as I try to help others along. So I appreciate the information you've provided today. I'll get the information out to all of our members for your contact card and your free offers, so that some of the others can also join in and get some assistance from you. I appreciate what you've taught us tonight and taking your time and making us a priority. That was, I appreciate that a great deal, and being a part of our group tonight. So does anybody have any other questions? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Bob.
No, I just want to say thank you, Jacob. And, you know, when you're over here to Fairhope, next time, call me.
Very cool. Jacob, if you will.
I will be in touch. And you kind of.
If you'll stop sharing your screen for me.
Share.
Yeah, I will pick up ours.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't want to do it.
You'll be able to grab it at the top. If you mouse over the top, you should see an option to change that and release it, I think. If not,
Stop share. There we go. How about that?
look at that.
How about that?
Perfect.
See, Bruce, I forgot about that, all that technical stuff I learned in engineering. So that's all the details. I don't need to know all that.
Well, if
But I
nobody
think
has.
somebody
any
asked a
other
question about the book.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I think somebody
Bill?
asked, it may have been Bill, I think, asked a question about the book. Actually, you can go to, and I think you may have answered the question already, Carla. You can go to my website, and basically you just put in your name and email, and it'll give you a free download. It'll send it to you. Or if you email me at that email that's on the connection card, I can send you the download, and you just click on it and download it free of charge.
Right. I think Bill actually sourced that information himself and shared it with us. So
Oh,
thank you,
okay.
sir.
Somebody had to do it.
We were too busy talking. So thank you very much. Any other questions for Jacob tonight? Y'all, thank you very much for joining us. Jacob, thank you very much for being here as a part of it.
Yep.
I'm going to share my screen real quickly for the 4-way test. And if y'all will join me in that, we will end our evening. The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? I wish you all a wonderful next couple of weeks until we meet again. Thank you for being here tonight. And Jacob, again, thank you very much. And I will send information out to everybody. So thank you all.
It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night. Thank you.